So hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked. I am in Plzen ahead of the Europa League playoff clash between Hearts Midlothian and Viktoria Plzen, and I am delighted to be joined by Tomas from Czech Footy to provide a wee bit of an insight into Viktoria Plzen. Tomas, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking and thanks for having me as well.
No, delighted you to come on. Delighted you could come on and provide your expert insight into Plzen and Czech football. So I suppose firstly, can you tell us a wee bit about Viktoria Plzen as a club?
Yeah, so obviously two clubs that are mostly known in Europe are the two Prague clubs. So Plzeň hailing from not really even close to the biggest city in the country. They are a bit of an underdog, but of course in the spring they sprung a surprise in Europe, actually earning their first European quarterfinal in the Conference League, earning so many clean sheets on the way. So very sturdy side, actually fairly active off the ball as well. So very annoying kind of side to face. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could be surprised to hear that actually they have quite a pedigree both domestically. Very successful, many titles won in the 2010s, and also even making Champions League proper, I think, on two occasions. So they are actually quite experienced as a whole, as a club, on the continental scene, even with, I think, maybe one or two surviving members from those very successful teams. Some of them are on the coaching staff now as well. So yeah, there's experience all across.
You mentioned them being quite sturdy and keeping clean sheets. What can Hearts fans expect from them in terms of style? Do they like to keep the ball? I think they play mostly with a back three.
Yes, definitely play in the back three. Have quite expansive wide centre backs. Very good sort of no nonsense centre back in the middle of the back three. He was actually one of the rising star of the last season, Robin Hranaj, who started Euros as well as a newcomer to the senior national team and is now being lured by Italian clubs as well as Hoffenheim. So actually he may not stay past this European tie, but I'm pretty sure that Hearts are going to face him both tomorrow and in the return leg probably. So yeah, the defense is definitely their pride, but at the same time they have a very good wing backs as well to support with crosses, but also combination play. So they have a lot of variability to their attack and have a very hard working striker, even though he's not really quite at the level yet. He just arrived in summer because they actually lost basically their main focal point up front. So that's still getting some used to early on, but they are still unbeaten domestically as well and earned very overwhelming victories in the last two league games. So they will be definitely confident going into this tie.
So you mentioned there the two centre backs, or the centre backs, the wide centre backs, and the main man in the middle. What about the attackers? So we've got Pavel Sulcic and Yuri Panos, the 16-year-old as well. So they do seem to have quality in the final third as well.
Yes, I mean, Panos, of course, being 16 years old, he's something of an outside bet, even though he has started in Europe already. So he's definitely one to watch. Along with Schulz, I mean, for Schulz, he was really a breakout star of last season, also breaking very late into the national team to star at Euros, or at least to start against Portugal in the opener. He's a very sort of hardworking and opportunistic attacking midfielder, almost acting as a second striker, closing down the box. So he's not necessarily like the creative number 10, which we don't really produce as Czech football generally. But he's more of he just picks his spots very wisely and can sweep it up. So he's definitely one to watch and to guard. He's probably their most well-known weapon at this point. And of course, watch out for Lukáš Kalvach, also number 23 in midfield, who's basically their linchpin, their midfield maestro, and very good set-piece delivery guy. So Plzeň have for a long time have had one of the strongest, if not the strongest, set pieces in the domestic league, and it's probably not going to be any different this campaign as well.
So we kind of talked about their star men, what they like to play, their style, their formation. Are there any weaknesses that you think that Hearts could exploit?
Well, it's a bit of a question mark. I suppose like they are definitely like suffering from some terrible injury luck in recent weeks, which I think Hearts could definitely exploit, because those players who are on the sidelines right now would otherwise definitely start. And we can start with Christophe Kabongo, who was the star of the preseason and the first round. Then he got, I think, very serious knee injury, probably out for the season. Rafiu Durosinmi, who was a very, very huge breakout star of the last season, but then he also damaged his knee and actually even had 2 surgeries on it already before without returning to action. So those would be the focal points in attack, and they are unavailable. At the same time, you also have a left wing back, one of the breakout stars of the spring, this spring for a change, Sheikh Suare, who was supposed to just have a little bruise, suffered in preseason, but hasn't played yet. So it's already 7 games and counting of this sort of mysterious absence. And then also their goalkeeper number 1, of course, and definitely the hero of the spring run in the Conference League, who just frustrated Fiorentina, especially so much. So he was also out for the last 2 or 3 games, and he might be returning now. But if he can't return, then a very sort of inexperienced and probably not even this level Slovak goalkeeper Marian Tvrdoň would deputize. So I guess these are some of the weaknesses, injury related ones to potentially exploit. It's a good time to be facing Plzeň in a way.
And what can you tell us about their manager Miroslav Kubek?
Yes, he's an interesting one, because he's by far the oldest coach in the Czech top flight. But at the same time, he's actually one of the progressive ones, because he's very much focused on data. As I mentioned, like his football style is kind of pragmatic in Europe, especially, but domestically, they are actually very daring. They are onto you straight away after losing the ball. So repressing, gegenpressing kind of aspects are also present in their football. So it can be very, very watchable, their football, and he's actually considered one of the brightest minds keeping up with the trends, even though he's already past 70th birthday. At the same time, what's probably interesting is that he's notoriously bad in his sophomore season. So usually he performs very well, or his teams perform very well in his first season, which was the last one for Plzeň, when he had those 2 memorable cup runs, both domestically and internationally. But in the second season, he usually gets fired very quickly. So, I mean, it doesn't look like it right now, but I think it's already 4 clubs before Plzeň, including Plzeň, because this is already his second stint at the club. He always was gone like within 10 or 12 rounds into the sophomore season. So it's something to look out for, but I'm pretty sure that Hearts are going to face him in both games.
Yeah, maybe we can start to be his downfall, but we'll see. And I just want to ask you about the Doosan Arena. Hearts will have about 600 fans there on Thursday night, and it seems to be quite a small but atmospheric stadium. And what are the Plzen fans like?
Yes, I mean they tend to fill out the arena for European games, especially, but even domestically, they are one of the consistently attended kind of clubs. We definitely struggle in the Czech top flight. Plenty of clubs are barely filling out maybe even half of the stadium, but Plzeň have been consistent and definitely have a passionate fan base. They even have a very good hockey club. So generally the ice hockey being one of the 2 national sports kind of. So they are definitely generally very accustomed to having these successful sport clubs to support. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a great atmosphere. It usually is for European games.
And just the final question is, what is the expectation on Plzen, just both for this tie against Hearts and the season as a whole?
Yeah, I think for Plzeň, they would definitely like to mount a bit of a more of a title challenge than last year. Of course, those cup runs went very much. I mean, in contrast to their domestic campaign when they were actually out of it by December. Entering Christmas, they were like 18 points behind the league leaders. So that also contributed to them focusing on the continental run and the domestic cup run instead of the league. So I think now they would definitely like or fancy more of a balanced season on all fronts, including the league. At the same time, they also definitely want to go up the level and go to the Europa League after the conference league adventure last season. So I think they are definitely an ambitious side, and even though the Prague clubs are far bigger in terms of salaries paid and even the squad depth and that sort of stuff, the coach was actually very vocal in preseason saying, no, we want the title, we are not happy to be just a top three club, which they are pretty much sure to be. So they are still ambitious, and I think Hearts are going to feel it on Thursday.
I was just going to ask. I was going to say thank you very much for joining us, and I was going to ask for a prediction. So, do you feel that Viktoria Plzen will be too strong over the two legs?
I would suggest so. I think they must be slight favorites, even though I can't claim to have any knowledge about Hearts. But they will feel confident. As I mentioned, they basically kept the band together from the memorable European campaign as of now, even though some players may leave after these two matches. So I think they must be something of a slight favorites, but I wouldn't expect many goals on Thursday. Maybe something like a 1-0 or maybe 1-1, something like that.
I think if you offered 1-1 to all Hearts fans, they would take that right now. Well, Thomas, thank you very much for joining me and to provide some expert insight on Viktoria Plzen. It was much appreciated. And yes, thank you very much. And we will see how the game goes.